Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into some history. Today we're tackling a figure shrouded in myth, and let's be honest, a fair bit of notoriety. Genghis Khan.
A name that echoes through the ages. But as with most historical titans, there's often more to the story than the legends let on.
Exactly. And lucky for us, we've got a fantastic book to guide this deep dive. Jack Weatherford's Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World.
A fascinating read. Weatherford really digs deep, going beyond the typical portrayal of Genghis Khan as a ruthless conqueror.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something that really caught my eye early on in the book. It's the whole mystery surrounding the disappearance of Genghis Khan's soul.
Oh, that's right. Stolen from a Mongolian monastery during Stalin's purges. Talk about a dramatic start. It really sets the stage for a deeper exploration of his legacy, doesn't it?
It does. And it makes you wonder what else might have been lost or even twisted over time. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeing figures like Genghis Khan as one-dimensional, especially when history is often written by the victors.
That's so true. It's all too easy to slap a label on someone like Genghis Khan, ruthless conqueror, and call it a day. But Weatherford challenges us to look beyond those simplistic narratives. He really tries to uncover the man behind the myth.
Absolutely. And one of the things I found most fascinating was his use of, get this, satellite imaging.
Satellite imaging to understand Genghis Khan. Now that's thinking outside the box.
Right. Apparently, they were able to use it to discover these ancient Mongol trails hidden for centuries right in the heart of Genghis Khan's homeland.
Wow. It's like stepping back in time, tracing the footsteps of history. Those trails must have been a goldmine of information for Weatherford.
They were. He uses them, along with the secret history of the Mongols, archaeological findings, even first-hand accounts from people who lived through that time.
A true historical detective, he pieces together evidence from all these different sources to create a much more nuanced and multifaceted picture of Genghis Khan.
Exactly. So we're not just talking dusty old textbooks here. This is history brought to life. It's pretty mind-blowing to think about those trails we were just talking about. Like, just imagine those ancient paths leading us to a deeper understanding of Genghis Khan. And as we follow Weatherford deeper into his research, we start to see these surprising, almost unexpected aspects of Genghis Khan's leadership, like his policies. He abolished torture, did you know that? And he actually instituted diplomatic immunity, even for his enemies. I mean, that's not exactly screaming tyrant, is it?
Right. It really challenges the image we often have of him. And the thing is, these weren't just isolated acts of, like benevolence or something. Genghis Khan was playing the long game. He understood that true power, lasting power, needs more than brute force to survive.
So he saw these policies as a way to make his empire stronger in the long run by being, well, I guess you could say, fairer.
Absolutely. Take the abolishment of torture, for instance. On the surface, it seems kind of counterintuitive, right? Especially for a leader who's often painted as a ruthless barbarian. But think about it. By outlawing torture, Genghis Khan set a new standard. He created a system of justice based on laws, on order, not just on arbitrary cruelty. And that's huge. It fostered a sense of trust and predictability throughout the empire. It made people feel safer.
So it's almost like instead of ruling through fear, he was trying to establish a sense of justice, of fairness.
Precisely. And that's a thread that runs through a lot of Weatherford's analysis. Genghis Khan was always thinking ahead, always looking for ways to solidify his power, to ensure his rule wouldn't crumble the second he was gone. And for him, that meant implementing policies that some might say were surprisingly progressive for his time.
And it wasn't just policy, right? There's that incredible story Weatherford tells about the Jurchen captives. For those who haven't read the book, these are people from a tribe that had, really wronged Genghis Khan. Like, they'd betrayed him, even raided his camp. So naturally, you'd expect some kind of brutal retaliation, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially given the customs of the time.
But instead of taking revenge, he has them adopted into his tribe. Like, what? He even had his own mother take in an orphan from that tribe. That's such a powerful gesture, especially in that context.
It's incredible. It really makes you question everything you thought you knew about him. This wasn't just about conquest for Genghis Khan. He understood the importance of unity, of bringing people together.
It's like he was sending a message, hey, if you're with me, you're one of us.
Exactly. And that resonated with a lot of people. It showed them that there was a place for them within the Mongol Empire, even if they weren't Mongol by blood. It was a brilliant strategy for creating a vast and surprisingly diverse empire.
It really makes you rethink what we typically associate with powerful leaders, doesn't it? We often picture charismatic figures delivering these grand speeches. But Weatherford points out that Genghis Khan actually hated long speeches. He even told his sons something like, "A leader demonstrates through actions, not words."
And that really sums up his leadership style, doesn't it? He was all about practicality. Actions speak louder than words. He was a man of action, not of empty rhetoric.
It's pretty wild when you think about it, right? This guy, Genghis Khan, who we mostly associate with, conquering and warfare, actually had a real impact on stuff that we still see today. It's like Weatherford saying he shaped the modern world in ways we don't even realize.
It's a bold claim, for sure, but it's not as far-fetched as it might seem at first. Remember, the Mongols weren't exactly born into global power. They had to learn, adapt, and they were really good at it.
So they were open to new ideas, even from the cultures they conquered.
Exactly. They didn't just impose their own ways on everyone else. They adopted and integrated ideas from all over their vast empire, like free trade, for instance. The Mongols were all about facilitating trade routes, encouraging the exchange of goods and ideas.
And wasn't there something about the postal system, too?
Oh yeah, the yam. It was this incredibly efficient relay system that allowed for rapid communication across the empire. Messages could travel hundreds of miles in a matter of days. Can you imagine that?
It's like ancient FedEx.
It really is. And it's a good reminder that sometimes progress comes from the most unexpected places. It often takes someone willing to challenge the status quo, to shake things up a bit, to bring about real change.
And I guess, in a way, that's what Genghis Khan did. He wasn't afraid to break the mold. It's kind of poetic when you think about it. This figure who we often view as a destroyer actually had a hand in building the world we live in today. Well, maybe not intentionally, but still.
Exactly. And that's what makes Weatherford's book so thought-provoking. It forces us to confront those simplistic narratives we often cling to, those good guy / bad guy binaries. The truth is usually much more complicated, much more fascinating.
It definitely makes you think twice about how we view historical figures. It reminds me of that mystery from the beginning of the book, the whole disappearing soul thing. It's like, if we could actually go back in time, strip away all the myths and legends, who would we find? Would we even recognize Genghis Khan?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was he a ruthless tyrant, a brilliant strategist, an accidental architect of the modern world? Maybe he was a little bit of all of those things, and maybe that's okay. Maybe the most important thing is that we keep asking these questions, keep digging deeper, and keep challenging the stories we tell ourselves about the past.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've given our listeners plenty to ponder today. If you're as intrigued by this new perspective on Genghis Khan as we are, be sure to check out Jack Weatherford's Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World. It's a wild ride, and you might be surprised by what you discover. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.